I think Heather now is going to come to our daunting question, bringing her own perspective from the Global Partnership for Education. And Heather, I'd also invite you to say a word or two about yourself and GPE at the start, and then please dive in.
Thanks, Caitlin. Hi, everyone. My name's Heather Saunders. I work for the Global Partnership for Education. If any of you are tweeting, we'd hugely appreciate you tagging at GP for Education on Twitter, so my team in DC can see what we're up to. I've worked for the Global Partnership for Education for 2 years now. My background is civil society advocacy and campaigning around education, so I've been in the education space for a while. I just wanted to share a bit about the Global Partnership for Education before tackling the big daunting question we have before us. So the Global Partnership for Education is the only multilateral partnership and fund dedicated to education in the poorest countries. We currently work in partnership with 67 low and lower middle income countries to improve learning and equity through stronger systems. And over half our grant funding supports countries affected by fragility and conflict. An education system has many parts, and GP helps governments to develop a single education sector plan, which looks at every aspect of the system, from teacher training and ongoing support, learning assessments, the infrastructure of schools, classrooms and toilets, learning materials, textbooks, curriculums, and including how these are managed and the data systems and policies that are in place to support them. The challenges facing every child having a great education are huge. Over 260 million children are not in school today, and over 400 million children are in school but aren't learning the basics. We have a long way to go to ensure every child gets a great education, especially in the poorest countries around the world. I describe GP as a multi-stakeholder partnership. We're unique in the way we bring together all education actors at a country level and a global level. We're led by developing countries, donor governments, international organisations, civil society, teaching unions, the private sector and foundations, who all hold seats on our board and jointly make decisions on how we'll support developing countries. This is because strengthening education systems can't be done by a single actor. The government needs to work with a range of partners, which is why we also support this structure through a local education group in each country where we work, who work with the government, through which all of these stakeholders work with the government to help develop the education sector plan and monitor its implementation. Bringing all these actors together behind one single national plan for education, supported by GP's pooled funding, means better harmonisation and alignment for learners. And this reduces duplication, helps coordination, and leads to results. This is a bit more on what we do. As well as supporting governments to develop the education sector plan, GP funds the implementation of the plan and supports ongoing policy dialogue between all the education stakeholders, building mutual accountability. Our funding is results-based. 30% of each of our grants is tied to results in equity, efficiency, and learning outcomes. And we also work at the global level to strengthen political commitment to education, mobilise financing, coordinate partners, and support knowledge and innovation exchange on key issues for education. So to the question at hand, we believe a great education can change the world. 420 million people will be lifted out of poverty with a secondary education, and one additional year of schooling can increase a woman's earnings by up to 20%. A child whose mother can read is also 50% more likely to live past the age of 5. At the Global Partnership for Education, our experience of working with developing countries has shown us a strong education system is crucial for a great education. A great education needs to start early. $1 invested in early childhood education brings $17 in returns to the most marginalised children. Early childhood education also helps children be ready for school. A great education needs to invest in teacher training and support. We can all think of a teacher who inspired us, supported or motivated us to achieve great things, and an effective teacher is the most important factor in a student's learning. All GP grants to partner countries include support for teachers. Female teachers are particularly important for girls as role models. A great education has to meet the needs of all learners. We know that children with disabilities are too often excluded. And in developing countries, 40% of children with disabilities are not in primary school. Schools have to be accessible for children with disabilities, both physically and through their learning materials, and with extra support. And education, a great education, mustn't leave girls behind. They're often the first to drop out. Child marriage, the cost of education, or parents' concerns about their safety on the way to school are just a few of the impacts of gender inequality girls face in trying to access their right to education. This is why the Global Partnership for Education supports gender-responsive education sector planning, which looks across systems to address the barriers to girls' education and to ensure girls can stay in school and learn. For example, through action to prevent and respond to gender-based violence, or the simple intervention of providing safe toilets or support with menstrual hygiene management so girls don't drop out. Also through curriculums and learning materials that are free from gender stereotypes, that show girls they can be doctors, lawyers, and presidents if they want to be. A great education has to lead to 21st century skills, the critical tools learners need to work and live in the world. Critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, collaboration, communication, and global citizenship, as well as reading, numeracy, information literacy, and communication. A great education has to be based on data. Some of GP's partner countries don't even have education management information systems in place. Without clear evidence and data on the progress in education, it's hard for governments to make the right decisions and improve their systems. That's why we invest in data through GP grants. But this work also can't just be led by ministries of education alone. The whole of government needs to ensure all children are in school, healthy, safe, and learning. Education systems don't operate in isolation. They're affected by their communities and the society around them. We believe when all of these pieces of a great education are in place and all children are educated, healthy, and safe, the education really can change the world. I wanted to quickly touch on our work in Afghanistan, where the rate of girls enrolling in primary school has risen from 44% in 2002 to 84% in 2017. But that many challenges remain for girls getting an education, especially in remote areas. One of the main obstacles is a lack of female teachers and schools in rural areas, such as Helmand province. With support from the Global Partnership for Education, female teachers are being recruited, trained, and deployed to community-based schools in some of the country's poorest districts. We're also working with the government on reforming governance and management of the education sector. And in Kenya, new technologies are helping the government to strengthen the education system. The National Education Management Information System gives every child a unique identifying number so their progress through the school system can be tracked, which is invaluable for setting education programs and policies. And a new online tool for teacher appraisals is raising teacher standards by tracking classroom performance, professional knowledge, and attendance. Another important aspect of GP's work in Kenya is to remove the barriers keeping girls out of school through grants to 4,000 low-performing public primary schools that are used to waive school fees for girls and hire female teachers, and for initiatives to counter sexual harassment and violence against girls. I hope that's given you a clear picture of how GP works to create a great education in partnership with developing countries. We definitely have a long way to go, but I think if we can achieve all of the vision we have for a great education, we're definitely on the right path. Thank you.